Today on Parts Hold,
Here to fill the order,
we have a special guest. We have Matt Honeycutt, all the way from North Carolina, joining us. If you didn't notice, his last name, Honeycutt, is the same as Cliff's last name. That's right, it is his older, wiser, way more impressive bearded brother. And we're gonna talk about the things that we never wanna hear in the parts room. So that and much more. I'm Christian Lafferty, this is Cliff Honeycutt, and welcome to Parts Hold. So I can't even begin to explain how happy I am to have Matt on the show, because for a long time I've felt like you're just a little brother, and Matt has pretty well confirmed that that's exactly what it was like growing up with you. And Matt, I'm going to use a couple of words, and I just need you to say yes or no about whether or not Cliff embodies these traits of a little brother. Was he annoying? Did he talk too much?
No.
Did he try to get attention when he didn't need to?
Yes. Yes.
Does he like to point out that he's taller than you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Does he like to have you compliment his beard even though it doesn't hold a candle to yours?
As of recently, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, so I think for a while, I don't even know that he had facial hair, but then he heard that we were going to have you on the podcast, and he started growing it.
immediately started growing it. So here's the thing that I want to, can I rebuttal to any of this?
If you want.
Okay, so what was number one?
Annoying.
Annoying. I'm not annoying anymore.
That's false.
God, he's great.
That's completely, utterly false.
Let's discuss this facial hair thing. It's less of the beard, and as soon as I get the sweet stash going.
Who are you trying to be like?
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
If you get that stash going, I'm getting you a panel van.
Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, I think you're trying to be Sam Elliott, and you're really more like Sam I Am. But
that really hurts.
Yeah,
that
I get
hurts.
it. So Matt, how many years have you been in the parts business?
29.
Yeah, so you've seen some things, and then started out as shipping receiving, right? And then just kind of moved up. And of the jobs, because you've gone shipping receiving, you've worked the counter, and now you're in charge of a parts room. Do you have a favorite of those three jobs, which you like the best?
Oh, this will be interesting because I would like to know if it's the same as mine.
As far as the whole parts department?
Yeah, like which job did you like the best?
My favorite is working the tech counter. Hands down.
Yeah, okay. That's great. So working the back counter is what he said.
Really?
My hands down favorite is working the back counter.
Wow, because I said, we talked about this a while back, and I said mine was shipping and receiving. Like I enjoyed doing shipping and receiving far more than I enjoyed working the counter. I don't know. I felt like I accomplished something when I put the bin together and organized it. Like I felt like that there was something to that. But typically, I've been a neater person our entire lives.
Oh, but you really like the organization portion of it and everything like that.
Yeah, but I mean, with me and Matt.
Yeah.
Like I'm a neater person.
That's probably true. That's true.
He's really honest with his responses.
So I will say this. Now, when I became a manager, my favorite thing to do was to organize. I thoroughly enjoy that. But if I had to default, if you told me you can't be a manager anymore, what are you going to do? I'm going straight to the tech counter. I love the tech counter.
Were you the one that everybody wanted to go to? I noticed that in a lot of stores that I go into, that there's always that one that the techs like, because they know that you'll get the order done fast and accurate when you're building estimates.
Okay, so I can tell you funny about that. I will tell you that when I got in this, nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody wanted to deal with me. I had a horrible attitude. And I helped Cliff get a job, and I always told everybody when he was coming, I said, you're going to like Cliff. Because unlike me with an attitude and horrible and you think I'm being a jerk, he's funny. At the time, he was funny. He's not funny anymore. He's just a jerk. Anyway, so, no. Now, as I've gotten older and wiser, yeah, I'd not to pat myself on the back, but I would be the go-to.
Yeah, that's interesting though. So it does kind of put it in, to effect though. Like, so I think we both would agree, Matt, that Cliff's really charismatic, and I think that initially when you think about the people working the back counter on the parts side, the techs are going to initially go first to who they like or who entertains them more, and then at the end of the day, it's who can fulfill whatever they need a little bit faster. So it's funny that initially that charisma can take you, but if you don't back it up with the ability to look parts up right, you're in trouble. And it's interesting.
I didn't think about that because I was thinking about it. I mean, we could probably name, because we worked in the same area for a long time, so we have a lot of the same people that we were friends with and that we connected with and that we hung out with. And I'm thinking of some people in my mind that were not... they're not somebody that like you would want to carry a conversation on with, but they were really, really good parts people.
Yes.
Would you agree with that? I mean, like thinking of, and we could name people's names, obviously off camera, but like we could think of, I'm thinking of 5 off the top of my head that were just not enjoyable people to talk to, or not anybody that I would want to hang around, but they were certainly somebody that when it came down to getting the part and getting it right, that's who I would want to.
Yeah, but if you need a short block estimate, that you knew who you were going to, that kind of thing.
Yep.
I definitely would say that I probably did that. So Matt, I was an advisor, a service advisor for several years, and I actually would pick. So like if it was an easy estimate and I was going into the parts room to get the estimate, I would go, like if it was easy, I would go to the person that I liked, and if it was technical, I would go to the person, didn't care if we got along or not, but I knew it would be right. I definitely picked by whatever the need was at the time. It's so funny that like I've never uncovered that until this discussion.
I've actually got a guy working with me right now that is excellent at getting anything that's not a Mazda part. If it's junk, if it's scrap, if it's garbage, if you need to get it from like LKQ, that's the guy to go to. If you need new, you're going to go to somebody else. And it's funny you should say that, because I think sometimes you need to have balance. You got to have both. You got to be charismatic. You got to have somebody that wants to be liked, or they are likable. And then you have to have somebody that's knowledgeable. I tell my kids all the time, in a career, you either have to be really good or you have to be liked a whole lot. And liked a whole lot will carry you further in your career than being really good at it. Because if you're a jerk, at some point people just get tired of it and don't want to deal with it anymore.
Oh, I think that's true. I feel like that's true even in all aspects. Like even in the management side of it, and from a counterperson standpoint, you might be overlooked for something because you're not that person that they want to.
Well, yeah, because remember, the GM is the one that picks the parts manager.
Yep.
At the end of the day, and then if their interactions are always, here's that other thing too, is that like when it comes to parts counter personnel, a lot of times the GMs aren't interacting with those guys on a regular basis. So what do they have to go off of? They have to think about how many times did somebody come and complain about Bill because he was being a jerk, and then now it's time for a promotion, and we're like, well, the only thing I know about Bill is that everybody came in and complained about him. That's really good. It's funny though. It's the other thing that this discussion made me think of is that when it comes to like the parts department, something you say all the time is that it's like, it's great if they like me. It's okay if they don't like me, but they trust that I'm telling them the truth. The worst thing in the world is the indifferent part, right? Like if you have no opinion of me, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But you can only get away with that for so long, like Matt's saying, if you have skills. But the ideal is skills and a little bit of like that you actually care and want to get the job.
That's the ideal situation. I don't know that many people have the total package like I do. But
So the other end of that, and I think this kind of like feeds into one another, is that most of the guys that are really good technically on being on the counter are never going to be the parts manager for two different reasons. One of them was whether or not you're liked or not. That's the reality of the situation, of how the world goes. The second is those guys are normally introverts and they'll never tell anybody that they want the job. How do I know you want to be the parts manager if you never tell me that? You never took the initiative to learn it. All you cared about was that you looked up the correct spark plug every time, and then you get pissed off because I didn't get the parts manager job. Well, shame on you. You should have learned some life skills.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty good too. Good stuff. So we're going to go into our discussion today. So we have just kind of catching Matt up. So we've done a lot of episodes with a lot of like what I call heavy content in it, where we're talking about like, you know, proper ways to inventory, how to set up a wholesale, you know, the proper ways like in terms of how to report lost sales, like a lot of that kind of granular stuff for a parts manager. We're taking a step back and you know, maybe not taking this episode as seriously. And I'm super excited because the lists that the two of you came up with, I think are great. And everyone that's in the business and then even spent any time in a parts room has probably heard at least one of the things on both of your lists. But we're going to talk about things that parts managers never want to hear in the parts department. So we've got two different ways we're going to hit this, everybody. So the first thing what we're going to do is Matt is going to talk to us about things he never wants to hear a customer say, which is just priceless stuff. And then Cliff's going to turn around and we're going to be rolling off of things that he has heard parts counter people or parts employees say. And I think you're going to find both lists equally entertaining, but I can't wait to kind of share this with everybody. Matt, so I think you got 4 things, right? So I'm going to let you start and kind of I'll let you talk about the first thing. And then if you have any stories that kind of go along with this, feel free to tell them, because I think the audience always kind of relates to, like, if you got a story about something like this that happened on the things on your list, there's someone else that has the same kind of story.
So I'll set it up by saying, and then we're talking about a list of things that that you don't want to hear the customer say on the other side. And so I guess I'll set this up by saying VIN number, and I'll let you go with that.
Yeah, the worst. And so when I was thinking about this, I thought, you know, I didn't experience a lot of this in Charlotte, but I've experienced a lot of it down here, and I've been down here for 18 to 19 years. And the one that always grates me is when you ask a customer for a VIN number, and most manufacturers, if not all manufacturers, are working with the last 8. So it's instinct of, do you have the last 8 of the VIN? I always end up getting 3. I want the last 8. And they say 431. Dude, what are we doing? The last 8. And I've had customers come back and just give me the last 6. And I'm like, what are you doing to me? So, you know the...
I'm just thinking in my mind, like... You got your pen, like you got the notepad out. You're like, all right, let me get those. Let me get the last 8 numbers, and they say 5, 4, 3, 1. 4, 3, what?
Yeah.
And you're waiting for more, and like you're writing, you're setting it all up, and it just never comes.
Yeah. The most recent thing that I've had happen as of late with the smartphones, everybody's carrying around their VIN number. I personally, if I'm going to call somewhere, I get a notepad. I got a notepad in my hand of what it is that they're going to need or not need. And inevitably, somebody will come to the counter and you go, okay, well, do you have the VIN number? Well, they scroll through the phone. You can hear the phones ringing in the background, and you know that you got a tech down there at the tech counter. He's standing there hollering at you, and this guy is having to go through the phone to find the VIN. I find that like stupid aggravating of, dude, you didn't have that ready to go when you walked up here?
So I did change mine when I would approach people. Instead of saying, hey, can I get the last 8? I would preface it and say 2 letters, 6 numbers. Like just automatically set them up for it so that they couldn't mess that up.
Oh, because they're not counting 8. And then there's also the time too when you'll ask for the last 8. I don't know if you ever had this happen, Matt. You ask for the last 8, they gave you the first 8.
Oh yeah, done that.
The other one that I've had, and it's funny that you should say that because I just remember this. I've had people just read the number completely backwards. The whole VIN. And as they're reading it, once you've passed like 8, you're like, what's going? All right, what have you read to me? Well, that's the VIN number. Yeah, but the VIN's not. That doesn't even make sense to me. Oh, well, I read it to you backwards. What did you say to me? You read it backwards. So now I'm having to.
How did you get a driver's license? Like, how did that even happen?
Driver's license? How did you get a job?
All right, so let's go to number 2. Number 2, I just wrote down make.
When you get somebody on the phone and you say, okay, well, what kind of vehicle have you got? Or they call in and they tell you, I've got a 1999 Dodge. It's burgundy. Okay, what kind of Dodge? Well, it's a sport. No, time out, dude. What kind of vehicle is it? What are you driving? A Grand Touring? No, none of that's working for me right now. Is it a Dodge Intrepid? That now I'm showing my age. Is it an Eagle Vision? Yeah, they can't tell you what it is.
Don't forget about the Eagle Talon.
Yes.
Oh. Do you remember when we were working together, right? First started in the business, and I remember a customer, and I can take you to where the counter was laid out, and I remember a customer saying, when they asked him for the make of the car, he said, I don't know, it's whatever that comes with a red interior.
Oh, that one.
Do you remember that? Like, it just whatever comes with a red interior. Are you kidding me? Like, you don't even know what you're driving?
Yeah, you got to throw me a bone every once in a while.
Yeah, you got to
right?
give me something a little bit more to grab a hold of. Like, throw me a safety line or something. But yeah, I drive a car that has a red interior.
I've had the ones where they're telling you what it is based off of where they bought it. You know, are you kidding me? What are you doing to me right now? You know, like Keffer Dodge, it was a Keffer. A Keffer. What do you mean a Keffer Dodge? What are you talking about? It's not a Keffer Dodge. It's a Dodge Blah. What?
Right. It's not Samson. It's not Samson's Ford. It's a Ford F-150. Whatever the case is, that's awesome.
I feel bad for this because somebody pointed out to me today. It might have been yesterday, because I got so frustrated with a customer, and they had said, well, you know, you've been doing this so long that you just think everybody else knows this. And
Yep.
while I agree with that to a point, some of it is just last date of the VIN, and you give me 3. I get mad about that. When you say, well, you know what to expect. No, I expect you to listen to what I'm telling you, or asking you in this case, and then following the directions. I need 8, not 3.
Okay, number 3. I don't even know how to set this one up really, but I don't know. They said you had it.
Yeah, they.
Yeah, who's they? Always they. And then they'll turn around and just point. Like you knew. Who's they?
Direction.
Up front. No, who's your damn salesman? Was it Chuck? Let me go talk to Chuck. But you just get the blanket they. Who's they? Which falls back into when we were talking earlier, it is, well, she. She, there isn't a she in here. Well, I called here and she said it was here. No, dude. No female in here. There's no female in here. Well, who's the other person? You bring a guy over here. Look, here he is. It's just...
Well, then you start running through your head. You're like, well, do I sound like a girl? Like, does my voice sound like a girl?
I can do that one. I can do that one. Yeah, because I've had customers that call me and get all bent out of shape. Because now my role has changed, so now I'm more customer-based than the whole... Anyway, So I'll talk to them on the phone, and I know how I sound because I've heard myself, and I know that my voice does not match what I look like. So when they come in there looking for me, and I'm here to see Matt, the service manager, where he's right over there, things change just a little bit. Not drastic, but enough for where people back up just ahead.
Yeah, like they walked up to you and you're like, I was expecting somebody way different than what I just got.
Not someone that's about to field dress
Hey,
me.
you could take your beard and split it and wrap it up. Like,
No way. You leave that exactly as it is, Matt. Do not take grooming advice from Cliff.
No, well, so I've gotten a little lit before, and my daughter has braided it. And you'll watch the Viking shows and you go, well, that's cool, I'm going to do that. You do that, and then you go, don't ever do that again. Ever do
One
that
time.
again.
Never
Yeah.
do it again.
You got your one shot with that, don't ever do that again.
dude, I would like to see that
This
braided.
is so funny.
All right. I'm trying to figure out how I want to set this one up, but I'm just going to say tell the truth in all things.
Yeah.
Is that an easy way to do that?
Yeah, when you get a customer, you've dropped the ball for whatever reason. You have failed to order the part. And it doesn't matter. The customer doesn't care and the manager doesn't care. So you've got to come up with a reason of why their part has not arrived. It's damaged. We're going to send it back. And the customer follows up with, can I see it?
Oh, it's absolutely the worst.
I personally have gone back there, found the part that looked like what they're looking for, and break it not to get caught in the lie.
Matt, that is a commitment to the lie.
Well, then you got the manager sitting there going, okay, well, we have two problems. One, I've got to deal with the customer that you've lied to. And second, I've got a $500 headlamp that you broke to prove that you've not lied.
Just to back up that you weren't telling the truth. That's so great.
I've done I've never broken anything. I can honestly say that. But I did get caught in the thing of saying, well, the truck didn't show up. And then the next day the truck really doesn't show up. Then you got to figure out something else. Well, it came in box wrong. Then it really comes in when the truck comes on time and it comes in box wrong. And you've got to figure out how to navigate all that. I don't know if you're like me. Well, I do know. But I just got to the point where it was just like, okay, I didn't order it. Like, just go ahead and let it out. I think it's better off that way.
I've definitely found that telling the truth, like, it's never as bad as you imagine it, which makes you lie in the first place. Does that make sense?
It's the fear of not knowing that caused you to lie to begin with. When I was younger, what we were talking about just now, I've done. But as I've gotten older, no. Because there's so many variables there in the life. The first one is that you've got to remember it. I've hopefully he would never hear this, but I've got a body shop manager right now that had lied to a customer. Let me back up. He didn't lie. He just didn't tell all the truth.
Yeah, but then they justify that.
And that exactly. You've got to keep up with all that, and then you have the problem that you were just talking about. Well, heaven forbid that the truck doesn't show up after you told the guy that, well, the truck didn't show up. So now you got 2 days of that. Just telling point blank, own it. Be a man. Be a man and just tell them, I did not handle this correctly. Everybody, including yourself, are going to respect yourself, and you got to look at yourself in the mirror, lay your head on the blanket, and say, I own that. I made that right, even if it turned to crap.
Yep.
I feel like we got philosophical there.
A little bit, but it's a good discussion. I mean, I think the thing that happens is that 9 out of 10 times, the customer's uber forgiving and understanding, and 1 out of 10 times, you probably deserve to get yelled at anyways. So that's kind of how I think of it, is that like the truth is the only way to go. And at the end of the day, you know, our customers they work too, and they're not perfect at their jobs. And it's so funny how you almost can connect better with them when you tell them the truth and hey, I made a mistake. They feel a little more connected to you. I honestly believe that sometimes when you show that you're human, it's one of the best ways to connect.
Well, the other end of that, talking about a mistake, is I always tell guys that work for me, under me, with me, whatever, is that you've made a mistake, not a big deal. Here's the deal. If you don't make a mistake, you're not doing anything. That's the reality of the situation. So I expect a mistake. I almost demand it, because if you're sitting over there doing nothing, you'll make no mistakes. Well, Harry over there makes no mistakes. Well, Harry ain't doing a damn thing. No wonder he ain't making a mistake. I'd rather you make 10 mistakes knowing that you're handling, $30,000 worth of business for me every day.
Yeah. All right.
That was good.
That's gonna. We ended on a high note.
Yeah.
But it's gonna bring in to my list of things I never want to hear an advisor, counter person say.
And then before you start though, am I right? Everything on your list you have heard. And even though Matt hasn't heard the list, I bet he's probably heard some of this stuff too.
Well, so fun fact, or weird fact, I don't know if people are like us. We are actually super close. Would you agree with that?
Is that because you guys were both professional wrestlers?
Really, dude? You had to bring that up.
That was a... I don't even know that was a smooth segue, but I feel like...
It wasn't.
I feel like that was... yeah.
Matt, I'm not known for my super smooth segues, but I will tell you that everything, well, you don't know this, but Cliff does, Matt. Everything, my fascination with you two and the wrestling thing is pure jealousy. I think it's so cool that you guys did this, and the bravery and the pain that you went through to get into the ring and do that thing. I literally honestly think the world of both of you for doing that, because it's so badass.
So the thing that I would tell you that's really terrible is I honestly believe that I could go do it again right now. And I know we've had this conversation.
At your age right now?
Yes, 100%.
Oh, I think it hurt. I think it hurts 3 times as much would be my guess.
I have a hard time getting off, and I'm not joking, I'm being serious. We've not talked about this, but I'm telling you, I have a hard time getting off the couch. And when I get off the couch and start walking, my wife looks at me and goes, I need you to stop doing that because you're scaring your kids. And I'm like, I'm freaking old. What do you want me to tell you?
It doesn't hurt, but that one time 24 years ago when someone hit you in the back with a brick is probably coming back to haunt you. That's crazy.
I'm completely out on what you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you think he could do it?
Cliff used to take bumps on the concrete floor, and it would just baffle me. And some people don't know what the bump is, but it's the fall. You throw yourself. You're willingly going to make this look good by throwing yourself on the floor. And he would do it, and I would cringe. And you'd have who I'm against. I need you to do what your brother does. Yeah, it's not happening, dude.
Funny.
I really do think in my mind. So let me clarify all that. In my mind, I think that I could. And I'm sure if I ever attempted to do anything again, that there would be a thing of saying, yeah, in my mind that sounded good. And then
I feel like you would know right away.
Yeah.
I think things would just feel different.
And you got to think, that was how many years ago that we did this? 25 now?
Well, how old's your daughter?
She's 16.
Okay, well, mine's 18.
She's 16, so it's been at least, it's been before my kids were born, so my oldest one's 22. So at least 22 to 23 years ago.
Yeah. That's a
lot.
layoff, my friend.
That's a lot of time.
And I can tell you from somebody that just did. So I stopped going to the gym about a month ago, and my Keegan that was just in here was like, "Well, take me to the gym." So I went and squatted 95 pounds, and that was Sunday morning. This is Thursday night. I'm still sore.
And you squatted 95 pounds?
95 pounds.
I've seen you do 550 for reps.
I'm telling you right now, it hurt so bad that I've turned into mom is what's happened. Gimping around.
So you're telling me the next time I see you, you'll be 5 foot tall? I really will be taller than you.
I don't know that about 5 foot tall, but I might be doing the whole swaying when trying to walk because you're having to use your hips to walk.
The wind blows, it pushes you. All right, let's jump in.
I totally drove us off the reservation.
Yeah, we went
That
up.
was
Yeah,
so
but let's
great.
jump into the list. I'm so excited for this one. I got 6 things here. The last one is kind of the bonus one, but let's get it started. So things that I never wanted to hear from a counter person was, I fat fingered it. And we both have a individual that's in our past that was notorious for saying that I fat fingered it. And I think it's probably more an older generation thing than a younger generation. Have you ever heard a counter person say that in your career?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Okay,
For sure.
It's the worst. And the one that stands out in my mind was years ago, 20 plus years ago, maybe 25 years ago, is they fat fingered legitimately and ordered 10 axles, complete rear ends, and they shipped them to us. The manufacturer shipped them to us.
Oh no.
And we had to turn around and build the order. But fat fingers number one.
I guess disappointing part of that is that I remember when Chrysler only had key part numbers on the 10 key. Like sealer, it was 4318025. It's scary that I remember that part number, or oil filter 5281090. In my mind, it makes it hard to fat finger that. But now that the manufacturers have done their super sessions and their part number changes where they've added the alphabet into it, yeah, that's a very plausible, feasible explanation, and one that would make a parts manager reel of like, oh my God, I've got 10 engines coming in because you missed the F and hit the E.
Yeah, it's never an O-ring.
But I promise you there's parts managers out there that are feeling it. Like right now they're nodding their head and going, absolutely fat finger. Number two, number two. Could it be under a different name?
So my end of that one that always frustrates me, I guess probably because the counterman's just trying to cover his ass, ultimately is what's happening, but I quit asking for names. I just want your phone number. Just give me your phone number. I'll find you with the phone number.
There's easier ways, exactly.
And it's like that they don't even attempt though, and they just says, could it be under a different name? No, like that's my name. Like that's it. That's all that's there.
The other one on that will just is we've got one that's customer retail, cash retail. And I've got guys that will order under cash retail and then put the name under like ship via, and they'll put the name in there. And you can't find them. And you look like a complete ass clown as you're trying to find them because you're having to look through 30 of number ones that you can't find. And then you go, quit doing this. Well, he didn't want to give me his name because of privacy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, there should only be like 5 of those. 30? Dude, you're being lazy. Either you don't comprehend your job or you don't care. It's one of the two.
So when you say lazy, number 3, straight in there, I don't have it in stock.
Yeah.
And then complete silence. Like there should be more to that, right?
Like, could we solve that?
Yeah, could we say...
Could we actually make something that's not in stock
we make an attempt?
become in stock?
Yeah, could I say that I don't have it in stock, but the manufacturer has it in stock, or someone down the street has it in stock, or anything? There's a multitude of other things to say that, but just I don't have it, or I don't have it in stock, and then complete silence.
So you're
such an
implying
awkward
that
thing.
the silence means go away.
Correct.
Okay.
Again, if we think of our past, there are some counter people that I can think of that would have said, customer comes to the counter, I don't have it, and they turn and walk away. Legitimately, like, go away, you bother me. Like, wait a minute, you realize that's how we make money by selling parts, but yeah, that one's a terrible one to me.
So building off of 2 things that you just said. Number one is when I became a parts manager, the very first thing I did is I traveled and went to the independent shops. I went to the Pep Boys, the Napa. We have a Parks down here in AutoZone, that kind of stuff. And the one that grates me the most, and I even went back and told my counterman, if I ever hear you say this, I will fire you on the spot. I don't know. And then leaving it there. Versus, I don't know, let me find out. I don't know, let me talk to someone else. I don't know, let me look into this. It's just, I don't know, and walking away. And then the other one is that, so being in this as long as I have has always been commission-based. And you pay your counter people, your advisors, your salespeople off of commission. The other end of that is, even though you're paying them off of commission, sometimes they don't grasp or comprehend that if the business does not make money, you don't have a job because the business does not exist. So instead of saying, I don't know, and walking away like we know who you're talking about, just getting up and walking away, hey, shithead, you're not going to have a job here in a minute. Because the business is going to go away or it's going to shrink, and I'm more valuable than you are, so guess what? You won't be employed much longer.
Yeah, I choose me over you.
Right? That's good.
And it goes back to aptitude and attitude. Either you don't understand your job or you don't give a shit. Which one is it? Your attitude I can't fix, but the aptitude I can.
Yeah, for sure. All right, number 4. Do you have a WEO?
So number 4, go ahead and do number 5 because they're the same thing, and then I want to kind of recap both.
Oh,
of them.
yeah. So number 5 is you'll have to talk to service. Like if a customer comes in the retail counter to get something and they ask for it, and then your retail guy, or if you have a retail guy, he just says you have to talk to the service. Like, what a terrible thing to do, and not even make an attempt, not even try to do it.
Yeah, I think that the one thing we cannot do, we cannot turn our customers into tennis balls. Bounce over there, bounce over there, bounce over there. Like, if the customer's in front of you, please just handle it. And even if it's not your job, find out who it is, but like, come with the solution and not with the go that way. Like, the customer does not recognize, and I think Matt, the term we use is silos. Like, internally, we see the parts department is a silo, the sales department's a silo, the service department's a silo. But by golly, when the customer comes in, they're Chrysler, right? Like, it's one entity, and they don't care if you're the person that does order or doesn't order, or what a WEO is. Like, customers don't know what WEOs are. They don't know if it's service's job. Yeah, we ask them for the stuff, the internal documents and the internal language. Like, it doesn't make sense. If a customer is in front of you, it's yours. Congratulations. And make them happy on top of it.
Yeah, because it's not a sales customer. It's not a service customer. It's your customer.
That's right.
That's what the owner is paying you to do, is to handle their customer. And on the flip side of that, as a customer, when you walk into Lowe's, are you looking for somebody just in plumbing? No, you're looking for somebody who's got the name badge on them and go, hey, point me in this direction. They didn't ask for a damn WEO.
But thinking about from a managerial standpoint, that makes your skin crawl.
For sure.
I mean, it just, you can't handle it if somebody's telling them to go somewhere else and move somewhere else or whatever, and I'm not walking them to the area. But that's a big one for me. But we want to hit.
The other end is why would they know what the WEO is? Or why would they have the WEO? It should be in the deal jacket. You want to know where the WEO is? Go find it.
Yeah.
That's. Don't make the customer suffer because of your negligence. Whether that is personally yours or the salesperson's, that part of it doesn't matter. Nor does the customer. They paid $30,000 for a vehicle. Help them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't give them a set of floor mats unless they find that one piece of paper they got that one time.
Chrysler had come out with a training program, Cliff, and I don't remember if you remember this. It was called Give 'em the Pickle. Best program ever was the best one. It's the small stuff that matters.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep. Details matter for sure. All right. So you got a different take on this last one than maybe you do. and maybe I
His
do.
is pretty funny though.
Yeah, so I almost want you to share. I almost want to do like a round robin kind of deal once I say it, because I want to see what your opinion of that one is and what his opinion of it is. But the last one is parts hold.
Not to be confused with the name of this podcast.
Of course not. So whoever wants to go first.
Let's let Matt go first
right.
because it was so funny when he said it.
My that's my favorite. It's everybody laughs about it outside of the business. Parts hold, you always get the hold button, blah blah blah. But the guy that's in it, that's doing it, and has got the WIO, I've got the WIO, I got the tech, I'm handling everything, parts hold. It's not a question. I'm not asking you, dude. I'm putting you on hold. I'm trying to be polite. And I'll even put the comma please on the end of it, but there's a damn period on the end of it. There's not a question mark.
This is a command. This is not a question. It is not optional. You will hold, either way. So I think that's great.
And I can compound that by saying now that I'm in the service department, the guys in service do an excellent job of picking up the phone and handling the customer. Me on the other end, I'm doing the old parts trick. Service hold, please. Bloop. Just default right into parts. And then you come back to the... This is great. I came back to the phone yesterday. I felt so horrible. I'm not lying, as God is my witness. It said 54 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't know what they had done. And I'm going to be honest with you. Here's the best part. I hit the hold button to pick up the phone call and then hit delete to hang it up. Like, you can't even justify why I've been on hold for 54 minutes. What the hell's going on?
All right, so I want to know your take on the parts
Okay,
hold.
so I think, obviously for me, in my viewpoint, it's funny to listen to. I do think, though, is that we can probably get a little bit better in terms of, even if it's putting something on the hold please, I think it's better than parts hold. And at the end of the day, we just got to remember the person on the other end of the phone, we have to treat them like they are part of our paycheck, right? Like, I think that at the end of the day, we have to remember that part. And to them, even though we've got 8 things going on, it's not their fault, and it's not ultimately at the end of the day their problem. So I think that what we do need to do is we can figure out, if you are picking up the phone, you got to be prepared for the call. And I think that, a little 5 more words goes a long way. That's it. That's my take on parts hold, is that we can probably do it in a little bit softer way, and it doesn't take that much more energy for them to not feel like they're... Because I think the thing that happens sometimes on the parts hold thing is that the customer feels like they're a nuisance or an aggravation, but at the end of the day, they're what we're here for.
So my take on the whole thing is I think it's slightly exaggerated. I think that there's just a belief from the service side that we say that all the time.
I wouldn't say that you say it all the time. I would tell you I've heard it for certain.
But I think, maybe this was just where I was and when I was manager, and it would be, parts department, can you hold please? And
I like that.
And then we waited just a second, and because sometimes, let's face it, sometimes the customer doesn't. I've had them come back with no.
Yeah, well, I still have the hold button. That's how that works.
But you have had them say, parts department, can you hold please?
No.
And yeah.
No, I can't.
Now, it depends on, because we do have caller ID these days, depends on the customer in the situation. Maybe they do go back straight on hold, but then maybe you help them.
So there's a lot of variables there that I think that need to be... We created this. This industry created exactly what you're talking about, and the manufacturer didn't help at all. My belief system is that when I got in this in 92 or 93, that phone can't ring more than 3 times. Mm-hmm. Well, which one's more important, the phone call or the guy that's in front of me? How rude is it for me to tell you to hold on so that I can handle the phone call. Christian, how would you take that right now if I all of a sudden picked up my phone and started looking through it?
Yeah, I think the big thing I would say is I would have to over communicate and everyone would know. So if we're in service and the phone's ringing, that the service department has to understand ahead of time before it even happens, say, hey, if we got a customer who calls in, even if we're writing up an estimate, I'm going to put them on a brief hold. I just don't want them thinking that we're ignoring them. Or at worst, I don't want them calling someone else if I don't answer. And I think if we have the right team, they support that, but we never say that. That's the problem. I think that our industry, we're poor internal and sometimes poor external communicators. And if we did a better job of that, I think that we could probably turn out a better product.
I think, and this is something I've been preaching where I'm at right now for almost 6 years, I think Apple did it best, and I try to emulate that, and I don't think either people can't see it for what it is, or I don't know what the problem is, but ultimately I think that instead of trying to get bigger, let's get better. And I don't need to be the best. I just need to be a bit better than I was yesterday.
Yeah, there you go.
And if I would just slow it down and put the brake on and reset the process, and then let's move forward. But we don't, because you got the GM demanding that you get 40% on your part. You got the GM demanding that you hit a certain ELR. You got the manufacturer saying, well, you got to make everybody happy. Well, no, I can't make everybody happy. I don't make my wife happy sometimes. How the hell am I going to make this person happy? So while we're trying to meet all of this criteria, you're never trying to get better, because I need to put money in the bank and I got to make a paycheck. And if we would just stop for a minute and go, where are the levers that I can pull that's going to make the biggest impact, slow this down, and make us better? Because Apple has got it down. Amazon's got it down too because of their processes, but Apple, they're charging an extraordinary amount of money for a product that you and I talked about it earlier. I got the Apple or I got the Samsung. I went with the Samsung because it was cheaper, but Apple's a better product. Well, why? Because they made that product better. And Cliff, you've said it best. You know when the grocery store's open, you make yourself available. We've constantly tried to open up from like 4 a.m. to 11 at night and then burn people out and then want to know, well, why can't we recruit anybody? Younger kids don't want to work all that. Hell, I don't want to work all that.
That's fair.
We've got to do a better job of being better, not bigger.
I think that's just that in general, Matt, is like if we could just do that business lesson, we'd get better all the way across the board, is really focusing on can we be better than we were yesterday. Like it sounds almost too simple, but I love it.
Well, I think if you look at the list, we made light of some of the things that were on here, and we made jokes about them, and we cringed about some of the things that were written on here. But I do think that it comes down to just, can I get better? Can I eliminate the need, the customer? Can I eliminate the customer that's going to give me 3 letters for the 8 digits that I need? You know, can I set up a verbiage that would control that process better? Can I eliminate the fat finger thing? Can I eliminate and help train my counter people better, that they'll go outside the realm and try to help everybody? I think that's probably key.
I love it.
But I love this list that we created, and I don't even know that I could go back through all of them, but I can.
No, I don't think we need to. Like, I just think at the end of the day, we started off this episode taking it really, really lightly, but at the end of the day, we're finishing with solid business lessons.
Yes.
Like, we're finishing talking about, 3 people that are very passionate about the industry that, honestly, everything I have in, everything I own is because of the automotive business.
Yep.
And like, I want it to get better, and I know that it can.
Yep.
And it starts with conversations like this,
Yep.
right? So I just think that, in the parts department we can get better, in the service department we can get better, but as a whole, the industry can get better, but we have to start having these conversations and being real honest about areas where we're not necessarily hitting the nail on the head, right?
Yep.
But Matt, I cannot thank you enough. This was so fun, and literally, I feel like we could do one of those 4-hour podcasts. I don't know if anybody would watch it, but I got to be honest with you, like, what a great conversation, and I really, really appreciate you coming on.
I'd love to do more of them. I mean, we could really open this up and make it entertaining is the only way I could put it. It could be really fun. And that's sometimes what we lack is the entertainment portion of it, and while trying to turn that into a learning experience of what could I do better, because me and Cliff have talked about it. We talk about work all the time. Is that who trained you? Who taught you to be a parts manager, service manager? Most people will tell you nobody. They just put you in the seat and said go.
Yeah.
And
computer.
You just happen to luck out with ones that are good, and the ones that are bad just left, and then we left us undermanned. And we did that to ourselves. That's the part that's the craziest end of it, is that we've done this to ourselves, and so between the two of us, or three of us, we've got, 30,
Yeah, we're almost 100 years between all of us.
Of experience, and the manufacturer's not asking you, and the owners aren't asking you, but the 18-year-old that's looking for a job and just an opportunity, we could do better with him, and just make it better.
I love it. All right, well, that's going to do it for today's action-packed episode of Parts Hold.